this session. Don't worry, you can take your time answering these prompts down below. I'm sure the prompts will be shared in case you forget. Well, I will hand it off to Marion to introduce all of you to what we are doing today.
Yes. Hi, everybody. Like Sange said, today we're going to be talking about making informed decisions and exploring your majors that you might be interested in with a student panel. So you can hear from their perspective what looking at majors and applying to majors at UW is like. I know the informed decision part might not sound like the most exciting, but it's going to be a really important part of your university experience. So I do hope that you get take something away from it. And we're hoping that you can use what you learn here to help you think about your majors. So for the first part, we'll talk about what it actually means to make an informed decision, what that is, why it's important, and what resources you can use around campus to help you make these decisions that you're going to be encountering throughout your time here at the University of Washington. In the second part, we'll talk about different majors, how to find majors that you're interested in, how to plan for them, thinking about minors and potential double majors. And then we'll end with our spectacular student panel, which actually features three of your PCLs, so you might be in one of their groups. We've got Hadi, Suzu, and Mei Chen here to talk about their experiences with their different majors and exploring those options here at UW. So, as usual, for your featured session English section, it's myself, Marion. For those of you who haven't met me yet, I'm the Assistant Director for Undergraduate Programs here at Circle. I am running the RCG program this summer with Sange, who is our Student Event Manager. Say hi, Sange.
Hello.
And I am hoping that you guys are getting a lot of value out of the featured sessions you've been coming to, and especially the core sessions that you've been attending with your PCLs. Just as a quick reminder, this is what our schedule looks like for the RCG program this summer. Right now, we're about halfway through, almost halfway through. We're on featured session number 3. So next week, we'll talk about health, safety, and insurance, which is going to be really important for you to understand. And your PCL should be either introducing you to core session number 2 or core session number 3, depending on when they hold their sessions. So this is where we are in the grand scheme of things. Okay, so making informed decisions. Let's get into it. We're going to talk about what this means, right? Now that you are starting your university experience, you are stepping into your adult life where you are the person making the decisions and you are the person shouldering consequences from those decisions. So it's not your parents, it's not your teachers, it's not your coaches or your siblings. It's you are the one driving the car, as we like to say, and making the decision about where to go and where to stop. So there's going to be a lot of points in your life where you're going to need to make a choice. And sometimes it's a hard choice, sometimes it's a really easy one, but you're going to need to figure out the best way to come to a decision for yourself and one that makes sense to you. There's almost never a right or wrong answer, but you're going to come to the best decision for yourself, usually if you spend some time considering your options and thinking carefully about what those mean and how they impact you and other people involved. So this is what we mean when we're talking about informed decisions. Okay, we're talking about critical thinking and consideration, and we've broken it down into 5 different steps for you. So you take those critical thinking skills that I know you guys have been building in high school and in all of your other activities that you do. You take those to understand a situation, and you're gathering all of the information that you think you need to help you make a decision. Then you consider all of that together, right? You're going to think about your options. You'll communicate with the people who are involved or affected by the situation. And then ultimately, you're going to take all of that into account and make what we call an informed decision. Next slide, please. So why do we encourage you to do this? Every decision that you make, big or small, has a consequence or multiple consequences, right? And so you are going to need to figure out when and why these decisions require more attention. Some of them are going to be decisions that you make every single day without really thinking too carefully, and that's okay. Maybe you are deciding what to have for breakfast or whether or not to skip breakfast, right? Or whether or not to go to bed early. Well, that's different on a day where you've got nothing really going on. Maybe you even have the day off. Or if it's a day in the middle of finals week, those two things can have a big impact on how you perform during your exams or how your day goes. So you have to kind of get a sense of what the situation is, what the context is, and why it might be time to think a little more carefully about your decision. So making an informed decision means that you're anticipating how what you choose, your action or inaction, because that's also a choice, is going to affect you later on. I know a lot of you know this already and you do this already without realizing how much of a process there is to it, but we want you to think a little bit more carefully about actually taking these actions because that's going to help you with some of these bigger decisions that you have to make now that could affect you a lot further down the road, right? We're talking about your diploma, we're talking about your future career. So these are big, big things, much bigger than whether or not to I don't know, join a club in high school, right? That's got a lasting impact, but maybe not as far down the road as your major. So once you understand the impact of a decision that you're going to make, you can make a choice that works for you based on your current values, whatever needs you have in that moment, and the situation that's unique to you. Okay?
Well, thank you for the info.
Yeah, so Sange is going to take you through a couple of examples now with things that might happen, common scenarios that come up at UW that students face and could apply this process to.
Thank you very much for the introduction, Marion. Well, I think that for a lot of people, myself included, that an example is always the easiest way to grasp any new concept. So today, let's start with an example. Imagine this scenario. You're halfway through the quarter, and the class that you're taking here at the UW isn't really going so well, and you're really at a risk of receiving a very low grade. Now, Marion went over the decision-making steps outlines. So now let's try to follow those steps and try to decide what we should really do. And this is also a great opportunity to discuss what these steps look like in practice. So step one, understand the situation. So the great beginning is to reflect on why the course isn't going so well. I mean, just by looking at the grade at the moment, yeah, the grade's low, but why is it low? Maybe you missed a midterm, or maybe your homework assignments just haven't been turning out really well. Of course, depending on why your grade isn't going so well, your options will definitely vary. Now, for example, if you missed a midterm or you missed an important assignment or a project, the course syllabus might have options for what we call a makeup, which is like a substitute, something you can do to make up for missing this exam or project. Of course, if some urgent circumstances, like some emergencies in your own life, were the reason why you missed these deadlines, you could also email the professor and see if they can set something else up for you or try to help you in these circumstances. Now, for our example, let's say that the ultimate root cause was that we just missed a midterm. Now, that's where step two comes in. You gather information. You want to learn more about the resources available and the policies at play so that you can understand what your options realistically are. Now, with a course-related issue, the syllabus is always the best place to start. It is essentially a rule book that tells you all of the guidelines and policies of a given course. Now, in our case, it might tell us a few useful things. For example, the grade composition. This is essentially a sort of makeup that tells you how much each element of a course contributes to your final grade. An example could be maybe homework assignments make up 40% of your final grade, and exams make up 60%. Now, depending on how much the midterm we missed makes up for the final grade, let's say if our midterm only made up 10 or 15% of our final grade, then maybe it's not the worst thing in the world that we missed it. Maybe we can just sort of work hard on recovering our grades by doing well in the other fields of this course. For this, we recommend that you take advantage of academic support resources at the UW. Some examples are includes drop-in tutoring where other students can help tutor you or help you with homework in certain courses, or many, many other academic support programs at the UW, which you can learn more about if you can attend core session number 3 with your PCLs. And for some of you, your PCLs are right here. Give away of PCLs. There they are. Now, alternatively, the syllabus could also tell us if there's a makeup session. Now, like I said before, makeups are a substitute. Some courses give you the option of a makeup exam. So let's say you missed one exam in the past, you can schedule a makeup where you'll meet the professor or the teaching assistant at a different date, and you will take this exam. And whatever grade you get, they'll just pretend like this was what you would have gotten in that midterm you missed, and that's it. Now, that's a good start for some options, but in some courses, it might not be the case. Maybe the midterm was worth way too much of the grade. And there's no option for a makeup anywhere on the syllabus, and you've asked the professor, there's no makeup at all. Okay, what other choices do we have? So that's where we keep researching. We want to gather some more information. And so we learn about this thing called SNS. All of your friends are telling you this is this magical thing that can make your problems go away. So you decide to look into it a little bit more rather than jumping ahead and immediately opting for it. And so you learn that SNS, the long and short of it, is that you change the grading of a course from a numerical grade. So that's like your GPAs, your percentage grades become like a 3.8, a 4.0, a 3.2. Instead, your grades will either just be an S for satisfactory or NS for not satisfactory, essentially changing your entire grade into pass or fail. Now, this will protect your overall GPA because whatever grade you would have gotten, now it's just a pass or fail. It does not change your cumulative GPA, your big magical number. However, there are many restrictions and downsides to this. For example, you can only have 20 credits made SNS while you're at the UW. You cannot use SNS for any course prerequisites or any major requirements, and you can only change a course to SNS before the end of finals week. Now, you can learn more about SNS on your own if you want to educate yourselves by going through the UW's grading page. You can talk to your academic advisor about it, or maybe you can go through course session number 2, where we talk more about grading and all sorts of other systems at the UW, not just SNS. A final option, albeit a little extreme, is to just drop that course entirely. Now, we are currently enrolled in the course, so we would have to take the current quarter drop. Um, Additionally, since we are already halfway into the course, we would have to take the late course drop option instead. Now, you can drop one course per quarter without any additional support. And by that, what I mean is that the UW has a quarterly drop where one course can be dropped without needing the academic advisor's um, special access. However, even though you don't need the academic advisor to finish this drop, you should still meet them. It is strongly recommended because a drop is an extreme measure for one, and for two, this will appear on your transcript. There will be a little mark where the grade should have been notifying, and it will stay on your transcript. So, as is the case with SNS and dropping the course, it is highly, highly recommended that you speak to your academic advisors first. Now, some notes regarding dropping a course in case at any point in time you consider this as an option. F1 and J1 students need to maintain enrollment requirements. One of those enrollment requirements is that you need at least 12 credits minimum or more to maintain visa status, unless you have special ISS approval. Now, within this 12 credit minimum requirement, only one of those courses can be online. Now, while there are, like I said, there are special cases where ISS can reduce your course load, but what you need to make sure is that if you drop a course and you drop below this 12 credit minimum, you're going to be in trouble. You're no longer meeting minimum enrollment requirements, which means that, well, either you're going to have to meet with an ISS advisor to talk about getting a academic reduced course load or a medical reduced course load, or you're going to have to find a different course. And that can be pretty difficult to sort out, especially if you're doing this halfway through the quarter. So always try to think ahead and make sure that you don't have to resort to a drop, at least as far as possible. Now you can learn more about all of these policies from ISS directly, as they will be joining us in 2 weeks' time for featured session number 5. That'll be August 4th, I believe. Yes, August 4th. So we finished the gather information steps. We've read through the syllabus, we've talked to academic advisors, we've talked to professors, we've learned about SNS and learned about course drops. Now is part 3, weighing your options. This is taking pros and cons. This is a bit of an oversimplified table, but I always find that it's nice to put all of your options together and all of the information you have on them and just kind of look at them in a direct head-to-head comparison. So for example, we have recovering grades. Now, there's a lot of academic support at the UW, and it's fairly straightforward. I mean, you don't have to do anything with policies. It's all on you to get as high of a grade as you can in every other area to come back from missing a midterm. But it might not really be a perfect solution. I mean, if the midterm just weighed so much, like it's an over-exaggeration, but if your midterm was worth half of your final grade, it might not really be possible to recover from that. And additionally, you can't necessarily guarantee that um, you would be able to get back to a good grade necessarily. It might be a difference of going from failing to barely passing. Now, the makeup is also straightforward, um, and it is possible to fully recover your grade just by doing well in your makeup exam. Of course, the downsides are that this isn't always an option, and sometimes professors can be a little bit rigid with their makeup scheduling. Some professors are a bit more flexible and will give you a range of dates, but some professors only give you one date and time for this makeup exam. SNS, like we said, protects your overall GPA, but it has a lot of downsides. There's so many restrictions. It's not really great on your transcript because if someone sees S on your transcript, they typically assume you got the lowest passing grade. And lastly, it disqualifies your prerequisites. Similarly, for dropping the course, yes, it protects your overall GPA. But again, there's many restrictions. You'll get an RD marked on your transcript indicating that you dropped the course. And of course, no credits are awarded, which, like we discussed, if you fall below that 12 credit minimum, there's a slight issue and you'll be in violation of your F1 or J1 visa enrollment requirements. Now, step 4. Now that you've weighed and looked at your options, it's important to communicate while you're weighing. I know we have this scheduled as step 3 and step 4, but realistically, it's going to be a sort of bouncing back and forth between step 3 and 4 because largely communicating to people who actually have more information on these things, like academic advisors and professors, will really help inform your decisions even further. Now, for example, reach out to your professor to discuss course policies or makeup options. You can reach out to your academic supports resources like through tutoring or other department tutors in order to help you prepare for makeup options or to improve your grade. And of course, always reach out to your academic advisor if you're planning to drop a course or to change it to SNS. And if you decide to drop a course and you're going to fall below the 12 credit minimum, also communicate with your ISS advisors so they can ensure that you will not run into any issues, at least as far as visas are involved. Now, having done all of this, it's understanding your situation, gathering your information, weighing your options, and communicating to any relevant parties, you're going to have to come to the most important step, which is deciding. And ultimately, Marion said, you will be choosing your action or inaction, and you are responsible for the results it will bring. Now, you can't always make the best choice, but through careful consideration and proactive communication, you can make informed decisions, and at the very least, you can maximize your chances of making, well, a good choice at the very least. And so the hope is that you don't skip straight to step five, as tempting as it can be, because you definitely do not want to start making rash decisions that are not really going to bring you or anyone else good results. So, our five steps. Understand the situation, gather information, weigh your options, communicate with all relevant parties, and decide. Of course, we'll stick to this little outline that we've made together here today. Look at some other examples. For example, I didn't get my major, and I will hand this over to Marion to walk you through what this might look like.
Yeah. So this is another one of the most common situations that students encounter where they have to make a decision and they might feel pressured to make a fast decision, or they might feel stuck, like they don't know how to make a decision. And that's where this process can come in and be really helpful, right? And this might be something that a lot of you will go through. Hopefully it's not. Hopefully most of you will get your majors, or it might be something that just one or two of you will go through. But if we take the steps that we outlined before, understand the situation, gather information, weigh your options, communicate, and then decide, we can break this down a little bit more, right? So, all right, I didn't get into the major I applied to. So let's pause and try to figure out why that is. Did you receive any information from the department? Did they give you a reason why you weren't admitted? Are there other majors that you applied to? Do you have other options? Think carefully about what the context is, what the situation is for you. Then you can gather more information, right? Are there additional times where you can apply to the major? Was this a one-time only thing, right? You miss it, that's it. Or is it something that you can continue trying to get into? Or are there other ways you could try to get in? Are there other majors that are similar? Maybe they're not exactly what you thought you wanted, but they have a lot of the same courses and maybe they just have a different approach. Look at those other possibilities and what else exists out there. And then come together and do that pros cons list like Sange outlined. Look at all of your different options. Um, talk to your academic advisor. This is where three and four kind of come together at the same time. Talk to your academic advisor about those options and figure out if they work for your timeline, if you can reapply for the major, or if you should work on looking into a new major. Communicate with them throughout that process. Communicate if you need to talk to your family about it, if you want to talk it through with other people who have tried the other majors, this is something you can do. And then once you've gone through all of those steps, you can think about, okay, what makes sense for me in my academic journey? What makes sense for me given the credits that I have, what class standing I'm in, all of my different situations that feed into this scenario for me. How do I make a good decision? Another common one that we see is students, international students, considering taking a gap quarter. So this is different from your summer vacation. This is a quarter that you are taking off separately, outside of your regular summer vacation quarter or whatever your other vacation quarter you choose to take is. There are more guidelines around that I'm not going to get into just now, but we will talk about them more with ISS and going forward. So again, understand what your situation is. Think about why this is an option that you want to do. Why do you want to take a gap quarter? Is there something that is causing you problems that is preventing you from continuing at UW right now? Or is there something that you can, what are the reasons that are feeding into you feeling like you need to make this choice? Gather the information. So, right. So think about look into the different policies that exist on campus about, not just on campus, these are the different federal policies that exist about taking gap quarters and international travel. And you can get these from UW International Student Services. Weigh your options. Again, looking at all that information, what are your options and is it the right choice for you in terms of your timeline and where you are in your academics? Is it the right choice to take just one gap quarter or to do a short leave from campus? While you're doing all of this, meet with an academic advisor to talk to them about what is applicable to your situation as an international student, right? You are all you all have unique situations, and so there is no one cookie cutter answer for any of you, especially when it comes to the immigration side of things. You definitely, we can't stress this enough, want to meet with ISS about any of this just to make sure that you understand everything, that they know where you are, and that everything is kind of on the up and up so that you don't get caught out, confused, or making a misstep with something as serious as one of the immigration policies. And then also meet with your academic advisor. I saw somebody in the comments asked if there's international academic advisors. Whoops, can we go back? Thank you. Somebody asked if there were international academic advisors, and unfortunately, there are not. The academic advising is separate from the ISS advising. They do talk to each other sometimes, but unfortunately, there's a lot of kind of going back and forth to one or the other. And that's on you. You're going to need to make sure that you navigate that. But this is part of making an informed decision, right? Is talking to all of these different pieces and parties that have the information and have the knowledge that you need to make a good decision. So once you've done all of that, then you can sit down and decide for yourself, does this make sense for me now? You can also come and talk to us about it if you want to walk us through the situation and see, if we have any insights into, oh, did you consider this or have you looked at this? We can help you kind of figure that out. Yes, Dan, I would love to hear from you.
I would love to add something here. Many of you probably have heard about the policy of duration of stay that was terminated last Friday. So I don't want to pretend it doesn't happen. So for those of you who um, have heard about it, I want to give a little bit clarification. So essentially, if a freshman first year or you're a first year transfer student to UW, the US right now wants you to be able to finish within the time that you're supposed to finish. So if you're a freshman right now, they give you 4 years I-20, 4 years visa, expecting you to be able to finish in 4 years. Why am I mentioning this here? So if you're going to have to take a gap quarter, that might affect you from being able to finish within 4 years, right? But not necessarily have to be the case because we talked about each quarter, you can do 12 credits up to 18 credits, right? You can also take a summer to make it up. All we need ask you to do is that if you decide to take a gap quarter, make sure you talk to your IS advisor and talk to your academic advisor. In the group chats with Circle, we can tell you some generic information, where to get the information, like the information gather part. But when it comes to confirm, because everybody has a unique situation, right? It could be somewhere else that you might have done this other thing that we can't see in your ISS's portal. So it is really helpful. And also for your academic record, right? Department might have a unique requirements for you to finish before you can graduate. So this is the why you can get understanding generic information from online, from asking us in circle chats. But it is really helpful, really important, especially with this new rules in place. It's gonna start to take effect in September 15th. This is not just for UW, this is for the entire US. So that's why it's even more important for you if you wanted to take a gap quarter. I'm not trying to encourage you not to. All I'm saying is that, if you got sick, if you need to go home to see, take care of a sick person at home, you are entitled to take a gap quarter. But the most important thing is before you leave, you want to talk to as advisor as well as academic advisor to make sure your plan is in good place. You will be good to come back. You will be good on track to graduate. We want to make sure, everything is well taken care of. Make sense?
Thank you so much, Dan. Okay, so I'm gonna move to the next slide, please, Sange. And I'm gonna take a quick pause because this was a lot of information that we gave you. And the scenarios were pretty, like the one Sange went through, I know that was a lot all at once. So I'm gonna pause. We're gonna, I don't know, just like shake some of that off a little bit. We're gonna move to the more fun part of the presentation, which is, I think, thinking about informed decisions is fun because I think it's kind of interesting to think about why we make decisions and how we make decisions, but it can be a little dry. So now we're gonna think about majors and how you can explore your major options and think about what you want to do while keeping that informed decision making mindset. Okay. So you don't have to apply it as a it's not like a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 every single time, but just keep that in your mind as you're thinking about what it is that you want to do. And when you are exploring these resources on your own before you come here to Seattle and you're looking around at the websites and stuff, just keep that in mind. So before or as we transition, what I want you guys to do is just flood the chat with what your majors are that you're excited for. What are you interested in doing? Are you already in a major? Just let us know. You don't have to say it out loud, just put it in the chat. Because that'll help our panelists too know how to answer things. Sange does statistics. Excellent. Okay, so as you put those in there, I'm gonna keep going, uh, and we'll move on. So you may have seen this slide already in one of our other presentations, but these are sort of key concepts that we want you to understand when we think about major planning, right? We've got two different pieces here. We've got the major and the major requirements, right? The major itself is the program that you're going into, right? So some of you, I'm looking here, we've got, let's see, we've got econ, we've got, sports management, we've got biochem, mechanical engineering, information systems, business admin, all kinds of stuff here, right? So that's the major, that is the program that you're trying to do, right? And there are different kinds of majors at the University of Washington. We have open majors. These mean you can declare that major at any time. You don't have to go through any hoops. You just have to say, I want to do this. And then you do it, working with that department, right? A minimum major is you have to, or the minimum requirements, excuse me, these are the requirements that you have to meet in order to declare a major. So some of them are really simple, some of them are really complicated, but this is what you're going to see when you're looking at admissions pages for different majors, or you're looking at programs. They're going to say, this is an open major, here's the minimum requirements, or whatever. Capacity constraint is a different type of major. This means it's competitive. It means they limit the number of people who can do that major. There's a capacity, and you have to apply to get in. They have application cycles, and sometimes if you miss that cycle, like we said earlier, that's it. There's no further chances. Sometimes if you miss an application cycle, you can reapply. Or if you apply and you don't get in, you might be able to reapply again later. So capacity constraint, that's what that means. And then a minor is a lower number of credits in a certain program that gets you that kind of sub-specialization in something, right? So you can take a major and a minor at the same time. You can take a major and two minors at the same time. It just depends on what you're interested in. Admission requirements, major admission requirements. This is what you're going to see as you are exploring all of our different websites and looking into the different major options, and they're all going to be determined by their individual departments, not by the university as a whole. So they are going to be different for every major. Some of them are going to be similar, but you are going to have to read them very carefully, and you're going to have to make sure that you're tracking, if you're applying to different majors, what the requirements are and when those deadlines are and who to talk to. These are all important pieces that you're going to have to keep track of. So they have application cycle times, deadlines, special prerequisite courses or other requirements like GPA. Sometimes there are tests that you need to take or personal statements or essays. You want to make sure that you're reading every admissions requirement page very, very carefully and talking to your advisor to understand them. Okay. And Sange is going to give us a little bit of a demo. Oh, I think I'm still talking about this one, or is Sange talking
Oh,
about this
sorry,
one?
small mic error there. Thank
Okay.
you very much, Marion, for introducing us to all of the wonderful concepts here. I know this is always very exciting. It was very exciting for me, at least, looking up all of these majors before coming here. Um, so yes, exploring majors. It's going to be very much like making any decision, really. There's so many majors at the UW, and we'll quickly take a look at even taking a look at the undergraduate advising link that Dan has shared in the chat, where you can see a whole list of all of the undergraduate majors at the UW. And you can filter depending on whether you're looking for just open majors or maybe minimum, maybe some specific capacity constrained majors. Now, as we go through what it's like to plan and work around looking at majors and thinking about how you want to approach applying to majors, we're going to make use of our decision-making steps. I know we say it a lot, and we've already brought up this outline several times here today, but I think that it's very difficult. There's so many scenarios we can't possibly prepare you for each one individually. But at the very least, we hope the takeaway is that you have a sort of manual of sorts that you can use to get you find your bearings. So, step one, as always, is to understand the situation. You want to think about what are you interested in? Some of you might be coming in with already a very clear idea. You want to do majors X, Y, Z. Or maybe some of you just know that, oh, well, I think math is interesting, or I think history is interesting, and you might not have clear image. Now, it's a good idea to start reflecting on what exactly it is you're hoping to achieve by coming to the UW. Now, whether you're in Group A who's already figured out exactly what major, or you're in Group B who just knows your general interests, I think that taking the time to understand yourself is equally as important. Now, as you look through either the major lists linked here or through the academic departments page listed here, I think the helpful thing and the distinction here is that by looking at the departments by themselves, you can kind of start fishing out all of the different subjects and disciplines covered at the University of Washington. Now, everyone's journey looks differently. Some people take a random class in first quarter and they suddenly fall in love with the subject, while some people are hopping constantly. They find one cool subject this quarter and another one the next. The journey is never the same between two people. But a great idea, regardless of whether you're hopping around or staying in one lane, is to gather information. Now, when it comes to researching majors and what the application process is like or application requirements are, the tried and true method is just to Google UW blank major undergraduate admission. It usually will get you to their undergraduate admissions page where they'll be discussing all sorts of requirements. And then what I would say is that there's usually a whole lot of information they'll blast at you. The UW departments, so many of them here are excellent at what they do, and they have so many pride points they'd like to share or all sorts of news. But for now, it's better just to focus on prerequisite courses, which means courses you need to finish before you can apply, application cycles and application processes, as well as graduation requirements, so you can understand how much you should expect to be taking. Now, it's a little bit hand wavy for me to just say this, so let's take a look through a more direct example. As tempted as I am to represent my department here, let's say, let's see, there's a lot of interesting majors in here. Let's go with microbiome. I feel like I haven't done a microbiome demo before. I realize I may have put myself on the spot here. Our PCL and our panelist today, Suzu, is a microbiome major, and she might be able to call me out if I say something incorrect. But I think that means that you're guaranteed to get vetted and absolutely correct information. So let's go with the admission requirements, UW microbiology. Let's just get really specific right away. So, microbiology is a minimum admissions major. Students meeting, which means, as we covered earlier, as long as you meet the minimum requirements, you can declare the major. You just need to meet the criteria and meet with the department advisor. Now, let's see, a minimum of 75 credits applicable to graduation, minimum cumulative GPA of 2.0, and cumulative 2.5 in prerequisite chemistry and biology courses. Okay, and you need to complete Bio 180, Bio 200, Bio 220, and then a few chemistry courses. I think that's organic chemistry somewhere in there and inorganic chemistry. I say, thank you, approval. I have a lot of friends who take the chemistry series. Okay, so overall, okay, so you can start imagining already what your course plan might look like. Looks like you've got 3 quarters of biology in a row, and you've got about 6 quarters in a row of chemistry. Okay, so this is so far so good. You might not exactly know how difficult it looks. 4 quarters, thank you, Susie. You might not know how difficult this course load is right now, but at the very least, you know, if someone asks you what course should you be taking, you can tell them a little bit more than some chemistry course. And tell you, yeah, I should be taking Chem 142, 152. Okay. Now, let's look at let's see, academic admission requirements. Let's click major course requirements. One pet peeve I have is that departments use different words for this part. Some will call it department requirements or graduation requirements, major course requirements. Now, these are requirements available for a degree. The difference is you need the admission requirements to declare or apply for the major, and now you need the major requirements to actually graduate with a degree in the major. So let's see, there is a linked PDF. That's nice. Admittedly a luxury. Not all departments will be kind enough to give you a little PDF that gives you a packet. Okay. Now, fair amount of information. I'm not going to linger very long here because I think it's going to be its own entire session within a session if we start digging through all of the finer details. But now you know how to find out where the major course requirements are. And that's the key thing. You've figured out, okay, so these are the courses I need to take to get into the microbiome major. And these are the courses I need to take afterwards to graduate with a microbiome degree. Of course, while I am going to leave microbiology now, if you have any specific questions, stick around for the panel at the end. Now, doing so will help you shape your overall plan, as I've said. You can figure out the courses you need, what requirements are there, what the application process looks like, though we weren't able to get into that with this example. And something very important while you make your plan and while you gather information is that you need to declare a major by the time you earn 105 credits at the UW total, and you complete 5 quarters. So 105 credits total, including any credits you transfer in. And once you've completed your fifth quarter at UW, which usually is at the end of second year, but it can vary from person to person. Now, make sure that any plans that you make and any information you get fits within these constraints. And I saw a very good question in the chat earlier that asked if you're doing double majors or a lot of minors, can you take more than the 19 credit limit? Well, there isn't exactly a special provision that permits that. And I know that I saw Dan answer the question below in the chat. Um, but we can also revisit it later towards the end. So the point being, it's nice to dream about taking that elusive triple degree, but if you can't really realistically finish the triple degree in time for graduation or in time for these constraints, you might be in a bit of a pickle. What if you reach 105 credits? You will be put on a registration hold. You can learn more about those in course session number 3, but generally what that looks like is they'll stop you from registering for any further courses, and they will have you meet with your academic advisor to discuss next steps. Now, weighing options. So, like I said, given the time constraints, you might not be able to get your triple degree in order. So you'll need to make some decisions. You'll need to think about how many majors should you seriously pursue and try to get into. And things to consider are how realistic are your plans to complete all of the requirements and whether or not you can get into the major. Especially if you're trying to get into a capacity constrained major, it's a very good idea to have backups. For example, the computer science major is very difficult, very competitive. So it's always good to consider having some backup majors that you can at least guarantee you can get into. Lastly, communicate, communicate, communicate. Always talk to your academic advisors. They will be able to help you with exploring majors and more general concepts like making sure your course plan is balanced or realistic, while meeting department-specific advisors is helpful if you had any questions about the application process or about the major's requirements. Of course, you can always share your course plans with them to get some feedback, and they can tell you whether or not it seems realistic for you to manage to cover all of these courses. And step 5 comes to deciding. You'll ultimately have to cobble together a plan of your own to figure out how you will approach this major application. And so below is an example pathway. Now, this is something that's a little bit more personalized to me, but this is an example pathway for someone who's interested somewhere in the realm of math, statistics, or applied computational and mathematical sciences, or ACMS for short. You can see here how you start thinking about charting out prerequisites and major requirements. Of course, there's some slots, like if you look to first year winter in the second row, there's space left for gen eds. Always important to consider your general education requirements. You don't want to be unable to graduate because you didn't plan that piece out. Yes, this is just an example. Of course, no, there's no one size fits all. Some final concepts we'll touch on before we move on to the student panel. Minors, as Marion mentioned, are usually light editions, like around 25 to 30 credits, and you can have up to 3 minors per major. They'll sort of appear on your degree as a major in X with a minor in A, B, or C, and you can declare them by speaking with their respective department advisor. Now, a concept you'll come across a few times is a double major, which means to have 2 majors. And this requires completing the prerequisites and requirements and applications for both. And so overlap between these requirements is only permitted as far as the department allows, and some courses might only satisfy one requirement. Now, this is going to sound very complicated. Double majors are quite complicated to grasp because all of these policies of overlaps are set by departments, and it's not university-wide. And we don't even need to start getting into double degrees and how complicated that can get. But what I will say instead is this. We will not discuss them further today. We recommend that you consider it after you spend some time at the UW and actually experience college life. If you are still interested, well, we've given you all of the tools you need to make informed decisions. So we advise you to take these tips, go out, reach out to resources, reach out to people, look into this information on your own, and start forming your own plans if you're interested in a double major or double degree. Some final tips. While you explore majors, be open to exploring. You never know where your interests might take you. GPA and extracurricular experiences are both important for capacity-constrained majors, so don't neglect either. And if you can't take a course you need at the UW, you can take it at a different college. You will need to confirm this with the department first, so don't rush anything. And you can check out the course equivalency guide between the UW and the Washington Community Colleges. Now, I will share this link right in the chat here. Of course, I know this was a whole lot, but I will end my piece here and I'll hand it back to Marion and our PCLs to move on to the student panel.
Okay, thank you, Sange. We're getting a lot of good questions in the comments, so I know you guys are going to have great questions for our PCLs. I want to acknowledge that we are running a little late because this is kind of a long session with the panel. So we might have some students joining us for the Chinese language session, in which case I would ask that they just stick around and join us for the panel or just hang out and wait until we switch back over into Chinese. For the student panel, a little bit of housekeeping here. We have a feature on Zoom called Q&A. If you look at the bottom of your Zoom screen, Sange, are you able to demonstrate this actually? Can you share your...
Yes, I can. So, just a moment. Don't be startled, but for a moment, you're all going to see your own faces. I will share my entire screen. Screen share. All right, so we're going to get a little bit of an
A mirrored effect.
A mirrored inception situation.
Okay.
Can you see the bottom bar?
I
Let's
only see
zoom in.
my own bottom bar.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so I don't think I can demonstrate it.
You just see your presentation.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting. All right, so I don't
Okay.
think Zoom will allow capturing its
Okay.
own.
Well, so if you guys look at the bottom of your Zoom screen, you see that black bar and it has your audio, your video, the chat, your reactions, raise hand. And in the little circle with the three dots where it says more, it should also have a little conversation bubble with a question mark in it called Q&A, right? Does everybody see that? Give me a thumbs up if you see that. Use the thumbs up reaction. Thank you, Thomas. Okay, okay, good. We've got some people seeing that. Okay, so the Q&A is where we're going to ask you to put your questions for the panelists so that we can more easily moderate your questions and make sure that they're seeing them. So what happens is when you see the Q&A, oh, great. Thomas used it to put his major in. That's a very helpful demonstration. Okay, so you can type your question into this box and then we will see it and we will decide whether or not we're going to answer it with a chat or answer it live. Okay, so all your questions, type them in here. If this isn't working, we'll just switch and go back to the chat. So we're going to kind of test this out. You're going to help us out with this. Okay, guys? Good. So let's introduce our, yes, Thomas, did you have a question? Oh, just a thumbs up.
I
Okay.
want to say okay. Thank
Thank
you.
you. Okay, so we are going to introduce our wonderful panelists, who many of you probably already know because they are also your wonderful PCLs. So let's get to their introductory slides. Susie, take it away.
Hi, my name is Suzu. I'm a rising fourth year, pursuing a dual degree in microbiology and education. I'm the PCL for Thailand, Taiwan, and Japan. I see some familiar names here, but uh, I love underwater robotics. And if you have any questions about like switching majors, I think definitely ask me. I have a lot of experience in that.
Okay, great. Next up, we have Hadi.
Hello everyone, I'm Hadi. Some of you may know me already. I am the PCL for RCG 2 and 3, which is Europe and Africa and the Middle East. I am majoring in material science and engineering, and I'm going into my senior year. So if you have any questions about engineering in general, I'm the guy for that. So shoot your questions in chat or in the Q&A.
Okay, and last but certainly not least, Mei Chen.
Hi, everyone, and welcome. My name is May. I'm PCL for RCG 1, RCG 13. I'm currently a rising junior, double major in account and information systems. So if you're curious about like Foster School of Business and admission process, or just curious about like getting involved on campus for like music events or orchestras, feel free to reach out.
Wonderful. Thank you, May. So, as Dan just put in the chat, if you are one of our students who is just joining us for the Chinese language session, just stick with us for the panel. We ran a little over on time, so our student panel is going to kind of bleed into the time we had set aside for you guys at the front. So, stay with us for the panel, and then Dan will do the presentation afterwards, okay?
Yes, so we are doing only one panel. So our panelists don't have to do this again because two of them can't speak Chinese anyway. So this is really good. So all the three panelists, these are 学长学姐. These are the current students who are in various different majors, ranging from business, data science, and then engineering education. It's really cool. So I would hope that you guys can ask your questions in the group chats. So we'll only have this part once. Okay, when I do my second part, when I do Chinese, we won't have the panelist again. So thank you for being patient with us.
Okay. So, like I said, we're going to use the Q&A function. If you can't figure out how to use it and you'd rather use the chat, that's okay too, but it'll be easier for me to moderate the questions if they're in the Q&A. We're going to start off with some questions, prepared questions for the panelists. But I see we also have some questions that have come into the Q&A already. But so Sange, can you move to the next slide, please? And get rid of whatever that box is. Thank you. Okay, so Panelists, let's start with Suzu. Can you tell us a little bit about how hard it is to get into, well, I guess Sange just told us about microbiology, but could you tell us a little bit about how hard it was to get into one or both of your majors? Or excuse me, I keep saying you're a double major. You're a double degree.
Dual
Which is
degree.
different. Dual degree. Good grief. So many different phrases and terms.
You want me to answer this even I'm not in a capacity constrained major?
No, I don't. If you're not in a capacity constrained major, we're gonna move to somebody who is.
Yeah, maybe someone that
Hey, Chad.
Ora, that's Foster. Yes. Well, regarding, I guess, for capacity constraints, it's not as intense as people would think. It is true that you have to finish a series of prerequisites, and it will at some point delay your like general admission line because you have so many courses you need to take, just particularly for Foster School of Business. But different majors have, of course, different admission requirements. So my best advice is actually just have you guys to go up to search bar, search for UW, type in your major, intended major, and then undergraduate admission requirements. So by doing this, you really get to see, oh, what's like the required materials for me to submit my major application, how many application cycles there are each quarter. So this way you kind of like get a better understanding of like, oh, what's required of me before I jump into like the pool of anxiety. But overall, capacity constraint major, it is true that not everyone who applied is guaranteed a seat in the school. However, based on my experience, most of my peers who are like working towards Foster School of Business, they have all successfully hold their place in the school. Basically, they applied successfully. So I wouldn't stress out too much about this. But yeah, just do some exploration first, make sure you understand the prerequisites requirements, and then also just reach out to like senior students to ask, oh, like how did you first get into your major? What's like the applicant process be like? Are there any application tips that you would be able to offer? I think just by doing networking and reaching out to students who have applied to the school will be very helpful.
Thank you, May. Hadi, I see you typing an answer to a question that I actually would like you to answer live. So somebody asked in the questions, how did you manage the workload of extra credits if you've taken more than 19 credits in a quarter? So Hadi, since you started answering, can you go ahead and answer that?
Yeah, sure. I didn't officially take over 19 credits, but I did have the workload for it since I was taking research. And the way to manage it is to have a set routine and put everything into Google Calendar. I cannot stress this enough. Google Calendar will save you. Have a set routine. So go to all your classes if you can. Know when to study. Set aside time to study, to eat, to do your chores, and make sure you follow that schedule. Because if you don't follow it and fall behind, it's going to be very difficult to catch back up, especially with the quota system and taking all those credits. So Google Calendar, have a set routine and be disciplined and follow that routine.
Great, thank you. I also want to address somebody asked a question that Suzu answered in text in the Q&A. They asked, how does registering for additional credits after the first day of classes work? And Suzu answered, it's the same as registering for classes before the first day. After the first week, it'll cost more to register. What other questions do we have?
Can I add something?
Please, Dan.
As much as you guys were thinking about taking more classes, the quarter system goes really fast. Let me just be honest with you. I strongly recommend students do not take more than 18 credits for your first quarter because if you fail, these GPAs is going to follow you and it's going to affect you from applying for majors, especially capacity constraint majors. I've been here for 17 years. I have met with the students. The students come into the first quarter, very ambitious. We like ambition, but I would like you to take the ambition for the second quarter and the rest of the UW journey. Allow your first quarter to transition to UW. The gloominess in the winter in Seattle the really fast-paced thing going on in Seattle at UW, you're gonna take some time to adjust it. I'm an English major. I struggled with my first quarter horribly. So my recommendation being here for 17 years is that take it easy on your first quarter. You will have chance to exceed if you need it to.
Thank you, Dan. Yeah, that's one thing I really second. And I'd love to hear from our panelists. Sange, you got that box up again. Can you move that? I would love to hear from our panelists about this question here. If you could redo your first, I'm going to say first quarter, what would you do differently? Suzu?
I could redo my first quarter. Oh my gosh. Um, if I could redo my first quarter, I think. Okay, how do you go first? I see your hand is raised.
If I were to redo my first quarter, I would take a maximum of 3 classes. And there is a couple reasons for this. Is that one, you want to adjust to the quarter system and living in a new place and weather. There is a lot to do. You're not only taking 3 classes, you're also living for the first time by yourself or with your roommates. So you're gonna have errands, you're gonna have cleaning, and a bunch of other outside of school tasks to do. And also you want to have, I would say, a little bit of fun in fall quarter. You're gonna have a lot of events, considering it's the first quarter of the year, such as dog days, and a bunch of RSOs are gonna have events as it dies down before in winter quarter. And honestly, fall is, in my opinion, is one of the most beautiful seasons in Seattle. So it's nice to have a little outside of time. It's like time outside of school to just explore Seattle and just see the area. So just have a light course load, like maximum of 3 credits. Or sorry, 3 classes. 3 classes, not 3 credits.
Minimum of 12 credits, please.
Yes.
Suzu,
Minimum. Mhm.
did you think of an answer? Thank you, Hadi. That was great.
I'm low-key really satisfied with my first year. So I don't know what I would do differently.
Okay, good to know.
We have a good loads of questions in
Yeah,
the okay, yeah.
yeah. And there's one that I'd like them to answer. Which year did you feel the most stressed? First year or sophomore? Which one of you would like to?
I can
Suzu.
answer this one. I think I felt more stressed in my sophomore year only because that's when a lot of people do major applications and the stress of like writing application gets to you. Of me personally, I think that was why it was more stressful. Um, yeah. Anyone else?
I would, I was like, everyone is different, I would say. For me, like I was in engineering, so I applied for my major at the end of my first year. So I would say that was more stressful in my opinion. Second year, you definitely have more work to do, but at that point, you're more used to it, so it feels easier. That's not
Mm.
like my opinion though. Mm.
Okay. We have a question from Thomas. How hard is it to double major in accounting and information systems?
Oh, sorry, I'm answering another student's question in the Q&A box.
Okay.
Sorry. For double major in accounting and information systems, accounting is actually one of the more heavy loaded major under Foster because it requires like 8 upper division major classes. And for information systems, I think it should be 5. And on top of that, you also have like general business courses requirements required by Foster. So overall, I think in terms of workload, I think it's manageable, but you do need, I would really highly recommend you to like plan out your quarterly schedules and also your yearly schedules just to make sure you can finish all those upper division classes on time. Because double majoring, I think for most part, timing is like the hardest part. The major itself isn't that bad. It's just like compacting all 2 majors requirement together and wanting to graduate on time, let's say within 4 years, it will be relatively more challenging. So make sure you talk to your advisor.
Thank you,
Thank you.
May. Dan, it looks like you have a question you want to answer in the chat, live about accepted to Foster as a freshman direct and automatically declare business admin as my major. But is it possible if I want to change and declare a different business major?
That actually, I would have to tell you, no, I don't know. So just know like a lot of these policies are determined by the department themselves. So sometimes it's actually better for us to tell you that I don't know. May, do you know this answer?
I think as a freshman direct, like for all Foster students, no matter whether you're a freshman direct or senior admission, you have to finish your lower division business classes required by Foster. And then after you have passed all those 8 classes, you will be able to declare your major or like specific branch within business administration. Let's say mine is accounting or information systems. Those are like specializations or like the majors as people call them. So once
if
as
you
a freshman direct, sorry.
I think the Foster Direct, the course registration is tomorrow, right?
Is it?
Is it tomorrow or next week? This will be a good question to ask your business advisor directly. Yeah.
Okay. Let's see here. Okay, so we answered that one. Has anyone completed an art deficiency admission requirement on campus? And if so, which art course did you take?
It's a very unique question. It's not many people run into that. I believe you have received an email from International Admissions that tells you you will need an art class to finish the requirements for admission. Honestly, don't know. I would recommend you respond to that email. Is the International Admission, like INTLADM. We can type that in there at uw.edu to say, what art classes can I take? My assumption is that most of the first, like 100 level art classes should be able to meet that requirement because I believe this is the art classes actually for high school requirements. Yeah, but double check.
Okay, and then we have another one that May is typing an answer out to. How long does it take to meet the requirement of Foster? I heard 2 years, for example, a major in management. And I know you're typing May, but this might be beneficial to others.
Right. So usually Foster opens the application cycle in fall quarter and also in spring quarter, so twice per year. And then as long as you have finished all your prereqs, let's say all 8 of them, usually most people finish by the end of their sophomore year or at the beginning of their sophomore year, because some of the classes like accounting, financial accounting, or managerial accounting, these 2 classes require you to be at least above freshman standing. And in UW, standing is determined by your credits instead of like how long you have been at UW. So most people actually it takes more time to accumulate that 60 graded credits in order to take those classes. So yeah, it really depends on
The fastest one I've ever seen is you apply after your first year and then take accounting 225, which is a class you will only be able to take until your sophomore year or first quarter here at UW. But some students will take the accounting 225 in a community college and in the summer, first year summer, and a transfer to UW that will make you be able to eligible to apply for Foster during the first cycle in October 5th, I believe. And then if you don't get that with the first round, you can always apply for the April 5th, the second round. That buys you a little bit more time to apply twice. So that is what we have heard the fastest way to do. A common route is to apply in that April of your sophomore year, April 5th, I believe. Yeah, 2 cycles, October 5th and April 6th, 5th, something like that, depending on the year. College Edge. Mei Chen, do you want to talk about College Edge experience that you had?
Yes.
right. It's Hao Yang. So Hao Yang asked, anyone attended College Edge before? Will there be guidance like how to get your first bank card vaccines and picking up from airports?
Oh, it's not about College
And
Edge
is
itself.
I'd say in terms of like guidance, as you mentioned, like opening your first bank account, getting vaccines. Those can all be done during the International Welcome Program that Circle hosts. I think it's the week during dog days, a week before the start of first quarter here at UW. So make sure you attend that. In terms of does college edge experience worth it? I personally think it really worth it because for me, I remember I came here for the college edge program. Beginning of freshman year, I came here 1 month earlier, and I took this 5 credit course under the program. It really gave me the opportunity to like spend time to explore Seattle, the city, and also just to get to know UW before it, like everyone else comes in. Because within that one class that you're gonna take within 1 month, it's taught in like smaller cohort size, so basically less than like 25 people, I'd say. So you really get to build a strong connection with your professor, and it just helps you to like smoothing your college experience, having a good start, and also just to get to know the campus a little bit better. Yeah.
And
Thank
you
you,
can
May.
still apply to College Edge. The application, or not an application, you can register for College Edge. The registration for College Edge ends on August 14th, so you still have time. So I hope that you'll consider it.
Yes, and I think hopefully Maze was able to convince you. I'd just like to add one little thing. Um, our international welcome programs that Marion linked is a great resource for getting all of those things set up. But if you are opting for College Ed, you will be arriving here in Seattle, I think August 22nd, right before the beginning of the College Edge program, in which case our international welcome programs isn't happening. So if you do need help and guidance with getting your first bank card, vaccines, transportation from the airport, the two big things I will point you to right away are first off, if you attend course session number 5 with your PCLs, they will be covering how to get from the airport to the campus, all sorts of advice about where you can open a bank account and get a bank card, where you can get vaccinated, and of course, once you arrive in Seattle and the campus, and if you're still a bit lost, come by the Circle office. That's Schmitz Hall, room 250. We're open weekdays, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. We'd be happy to lend you a hand. I'll return it back to Mary.
Thank you, Sange. I think I would like to take just one or two more questions each for we've had a lot of May's answered a lot of questions for us, which is awesome. And I know Suzu and Hadi have been answering them in the chat. But if anybody has any additional questions for Hadi or Suzu about their majors or their experiences, now is the time. You can also put it in the chat if you don't want to put it in the Q&A box. Or if you're brave and you want to speak out loud, you can raise your hand or unmute yourself. If you have any interest, yes, Thomas.
Cheapest grocery store.
Cheapest grocery store. All right. Hadi, go.
Let me put you on. Okay. So I would this is very subjective to what you buy, obviously, but there next to campus, there's a place called U Village. It's like a mini outlet pretty much. And within U Village, there's a grocery store called QFC. QFC by itself is expensive, although there are discounts. Some things have coupons on them. So once you go to checkout, the coupon will be applied automatically if you have a QFC card, which you can get by just downloading the QFC app. Yes, QFC. Quality Food Center, I think. Some things have a special discount, and you can only get it by scanning the QR code next to the price. It's very simple. You open the camera, scan the QR code, apply coupon, and you're done. Once you go to checkout, you can just scan your card at the machine thingy, and everything will apply automatically. One time, I had a cart and I had $70 worth of food. I bought it for $43. I have saved $27 right there. I am so proud of that. Yeah, couponing is my best friend. And I learned the more you go to QFC, the more you you figure out the patterns. For example, like my favorite bread is just Hawaiian bread. It's discounted every 2 weeks, so I buy it once it's on discount. Same thing with eggs, chips, cheese. I just buy stuff that is discounted. Don't buy anything at full price. Just wait. Be patient. That's all. Thank you. I'm very passionate about this, if you can tell.
I love it. So definitely then, Thomas, attend his life hack session because I feel like you're going to get some great tips.
Can I add your one last question? I don't know if it's answered. It says, is it harder to change majors from a directed admission program compared to a pre-major program? What I'm hearing, I'm trying to clarify the question. That's why I'm trying to type this a bit ago. What is the difference? So what I'm hearing may clarify this question is that you want to change a major, but depending on whether you already have a directed admit into a major already, you want to change it to another major versus a pre-major to change it to another major. Okay? On the paper, here's if that's what you're asking, commonly, whatever your major status previously, right, whatever you have already, it does not change the way how you apply for another major. Everybody goes through similar process. We're not talking about engineer. Engineer is a very different situation. If you're not engineer undeclared, we're trying to get into engineer, that's a completely different story. But we're taking engineer out of the equation. So if you are in the major already, doesn't matter if it's a directed admit or applied to get in, versus if you don't have a major and then you're applying for a capacity constrained major that is not engineering. In that case, these two are very similar situation because if I'm an advisor from this major, I'm only looking at your qualifications. Okay? So then we were giving you, did you meet the qualifications I need for entering this major? So you had to go through the same thing. However, this is not on the paper. Again, being here 17 years, I've also heard rumors about some departments. This is usually not on the paper, is really, so that's why you need to go to meet with departmental advisor. I've heard some majors will say, well, if you already have a major, they would prior to have the people who doesn't have a major to get into the major first. This is not a university policy. This is a departmental advisors are doing these things on their own. I have to put it that way. So these are departmental policies. So if you are, for instance, I'm interested in physics major, I wanted to answer that question. If I'm going to transition from a business major to physics major, you're going to go to sit down with the physics department advisor to say, if I'm applying, I already have a major in business and I would like to, apply to get into this major. Would the fact that I'm already in a major going to affect my, application chances, admission chances? You need to ask them directly because a lot of things are determined by the departments. For us, just say yes or no, it's like a blanket. It's not responsible. Yeah.
I muted myself. Thank you, Dan. Any final last urgent questions for our amazing panelists?
We will have an entire session talking about Arrival 101, all of your core sessions at the end. Your PCLs are sharing with all of these fun life stuff. Grocery shopping, where do you get free, freebies as a UW Husky card? So take those sessions.
Yeah.
Learn with them. You're going to learn from the best.
One final question here, which I think you also already answered in the chat, Dan, so it would be good to say out loud. When will engineering undeclared students get their academic advisor assigned?
Oh, they don't necessarily assign engineer undeclared. Usually, I think if they may sign, it's based on your initial, what is that called? Last name initials. Like if you, like me, my last name is Z, whoever is assigned to Z. We actually don't know much about engineer undeclare how they do it. But all of you, if you have already done an engineer if you have not done your NO part two, then you have to wait until NO part two. Majority of engineer undeclared students should have already gone through your NO part two. And if that's the case, could you please look out for an email from Engineer Undeclared? They just sent an email that's titled something. I just sent it to Thomas. The email says support with autumn quarter course registration. You're gonna go into that drop in Zoom help hours to ask who is my academic advisor. This information is not going to be on any website we can search. It's internal engineering website we don't have access to. Sorry.
Thank you, Dan. Okay, That's it for our panelists because we're going to move on to the next session, but we'll just do a quick wrap up here and say goodbye to those of you who have been with us since 8 p.m. Thank you for sticking around for this long time. Key takeaways from today. If you learned nothing else from today, because I know we went all over the place and we gave you a whole lot to consider. If you learn nothing else from today, you can't always make the best choice, but you can improve the chances of making a good choice by using this informed decision-making process, okay? So by taking the time to consider your options, to gather all your information, to talk to your advisors and the other people that are involved in this decision, and to look at what makes sense for you. Second, seeking out those resources and advice is 90% of the job, right? That is the biggest part of making an informed decision is gathering all that info and talking to the people who are here to help you. And there are so many people here specifically to help you at UW, right? There are a lot of people whose job it is to make sure that you are making a good decision and to make sure that you are getting to the end of your university career the best way you can. And finally, as you are figuring out your majors and applying and trying things out, just remember that sometimes rejection happens and that is okay. And there are ways through it and there are other options. And maybe that's happening because you are, really actually leaning in another direction and you didn't even realize it, right? So just remember that all of these things you're going to have ups, you're going to have downs, you're going to make decisions, and you're going to make them based on what you think is the right choice at the time. You might change your mind. You can also make a new decision after you change your mind. There are options for you, there are ways through it, and there are people here to help. So we want to just remind you of our upcoming sessions. If you haven't already had it with your PCL, core session number 2 is happening this week. It covers a lot of different policies and important info at UW. It may not seem like the most exciting one, but it's definitely got a lot of valuable information. So I hope that you will attend it. Your PCLs have all worked very hard, and they're excited to share it with you. We have a second fun weekend activity this weekend. The first one was a big hit. We did some I don't even know what it's called. We did some game looking at photos and figuring out where they were and when in time they were. It was really fun. This weekend, it's going to be a hometown tour led by, I think, Suzu and Hadi again. So please join them there. Again, they're very excited to see you guys. And finally, next week, we will have our featured session number 4. We'll be covering health and safety resources and your health insurance here at UW. These are really important, really good things for you to know because things happen. You cannot plan for these things. But as long as you know what your resources are, you can react to them in the right way. So please join us next week for featured session number 4, same time, same place. And thank you so much for sticking around. It was really good to have you all here. And if you're here for the Chinese version, Dan will take it from here. Thanks, guys.